Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It is now time for the Pony Cake Sports Podcast with your host, Josh Stevens and Tom Schultz. Woo!
Hey there, everybody. Thank you again for joining a new episode. This is going to be the running back forecast of week number 12. Tom, how you feeling about the running backs this week?
I love running backs. This is my favorite episode of the week.
Same here, because running backs are basically back in the day, they used to get you most of your fantasy points, and now it's pretty much David Johnson, Ezekiel Elliott, and Le'Veon Bell, and that's pretty much it.
What about Fat Rob?
Well, Fat Rob got some, but now at the end of the season, now we're seeing some of these running backs starting to pick up, which is nice because a lot of teams are starting to convert back to the running game later in the season, which now you see Todd Gurley running the ball a little bit more. See DeMarco Murray still having a good year. Lamar Miller scored a touchdown. LaShawn McCoy did get hurt, but still having a good year overall. So not bad. I think they're kind of going back to the old days of where they ran the ball a lot.
It's getting cold, and that's what you need to do when the weather starts getting cold.
True. Again, guys, we are on FantasyOmatic.com. Again, that is FantasyOmatic.com. You guys can follow us as we go through, pull up that page, follow us as we talk, and kind of see where their list is. It's nice to see where some of the rankings are, just to kind of compare on where our rankings are, and where we go from there. So number one on the list, Ezekiel Elliott, facing Washington, home, Thursday afternoon game on Thanksgiving. Early, quick game. I hate the Thursday night games. I've said it over and over again. I just don't know why they do Thursday night games. I get it because of the money, but I don't know if them coming and playing this early is going to be hurting Ezekiel Elliott or not.
You can't be hating on the Thanksgiving Thursday night game or Thursday games.
I also have to work that day, so I only get to watch like an hour of it.
I personally love the Thanksgiving games. I don't like the normal Thursday games. But Zeke Elliott, you're going to be starting him. I don't know if he deserves to be number one. Washington's pretty good at stopping the run. They held Green Bay in check, but that's really not saying much. But they've done a decent job all year. They held him in check the first time they played. But Zeke Elliott's the man. He's a man out there. He's a bully. He runs through people. And he might start off slow again like he did last week against Baltimore, but expect him to get close to 100, 125 total yards, and he's got a good chance of getting in the end zone.
Well, let's look at the top three. You have Ezekiel Elliott at number one. You have number two, David Johnson. And number three, you have Le'Veon Bell. Out of those three, who's your number one? Do you keep Ezekiel Elliott there, or do you move David Johnson up to number one, or do you put Le'Veon Bell at number one?
My top three, it'd be Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, Zeke Elliott. So I'd switch it around a little bit. Indy's rush defense has looked better, but Le'Veon Bell's a different story. He's better than DeMarco Murray. He's looked fantastic the last 2 weeks. He's a threat out of the backfield. And then David Johnson is David Johnson, touchdown machine. Just like Le'Veon Bell, receiving threat, had the most targets on his team last week, can run in between the tackles, and then Zeke, he's Zeke.
Yeah, I have that the same way. I have Bell number one, I have Johnson number two, and I have Elliott number three. And then number four on their list, they have LaShawn McCoy. LaShawn McCoy is having thumb surgery, and we don't know if he's going to be out yet or not. And if he is in, I think he's still worthy of the number four slot. Now, me personally, I think he's worthy of it, but I don't know if I would put him at number four. I may slide him down a little bit because he may be hampered by that thumb injury just a little bit. So that's where I got him at.
I like Shady a lot this week, but that's if he plays. He's kind of been hampered with injuries all year, been lingering around. It's something new every week, it seems like. But if he's playing and he's getting to go, you start him, feel extremely confident with him.
Looking at the next one, they have at number 5, they have Lamar Miller facing San Diego at home. And that San Diego front four with Joey Bosa on there, man, they look dominant. rushing the passer. And they've even been pretty well against the run, too. So I don't know if I would have Lamar Miller at number 5. Plus, also Houston's been struggling a little bit. Yes, he had over 100 yards last week. He did have a touchdown. But this is San Diego that's coming off of a bye week as well. So they're getting a little bit healthier. And I don't like him at 5. I really don't. I would drop him down. That's just me, though.
Yeah, I'd probably have him at between 8 and 10 on the list. But I do like that they're giving him 20 carries a game. They did that against Oakland. He had over 100 yards. He's an explosive running back. And he should be their goal line back. So Lamar Miller deserves to be in the top 10 at least.
The one good thing that they do have going, or that he's got going for him, is that Alfred Blue was out last week and should be out again this week.
Yeah, he sucks as well. So,
but he is stealing carries. So
yeah.
Number 6, they have Devonta Freeman. They're coming off of a bye against Arizona. This is another one of those running back situations. Playing a good rushing defense, I would probably drop Devonta Freeman down a little bit. I actually like Todd Gurley this week at number 8 at the Saints, and I'd move him up. Same with DeMarco Murray at number 9 at Chicago. Those are 2 guys I would move up, and I would move Freeman and Forte at 6 and 7 down.
Yeah, I'd probably move Forte up against New England.
Interesting.
Lamar Miller and Freeman should be dropped down. I've been on that Gurley bandwagon, even though he's been making me regret it most of the year. He finally looked like Todd Gurley last week, and I really think they're just going to keep feeding him the rock, getting him 20 to 25 total touches, and he's going to be a top 12 option the rest of the year.
Looking down a little bit down the list, we have Jonathan Stewart at 12. He's at Oakland. Should he be higher or should he be lower? That's pretty much your running back 1 number right there.
I'd probably have him a little bit lower. He's kind of touchdown reliant right now. Last week against the Saints, their rush defense isn't that great, and he was held under 40 yards. He had a touchdown, so he was somewhat fantasy relevant. But if he doesn't find the end zone, he's kind of like Latavius Murray. He's not very good for fantasy.
I just want to go all the way down to 24 just because that's the cutoff for running backs, right?
Yep.
So 24 is Jeremy Hill. After Jeremy Hill, they have Thomas Rawls, who would not be a starting running back on a team because if you're a 12-team league, that's where you're at. So they have Thomas Rawls, Terrence West, Jordan Howard, Chris Ivory, Billy Powell, and let's see, Jay Ajayi, and anybody else worth mentioning? Well, Devontae Booker. Devontae Booker is actually under Capri Bibbs.
Rob Kelly's 46.
Rob Kelly, 46.
Yeah, there's quite a few guys that should be in that top 24. I don't think Wendell Smallwood deserves to be in there. Jeremy Hill against Baltimore. That's a tough matchup.
Yep.
If you're starting him, you need him to score you a touchdown.
Theo Riddick.
Yeah.
He's at 21. Isaiah Crowell at 22. Riddick is facing Minnesota. Isaiah Crowell is facing the Giants. I would take those 3 out, Riddick, Crowell, and Smallwood, and plug in Rawls, probably Howard, and at least Rob Kelly, maybe even Devontae Booker.
And what about number 50, Tim Hightower?
Yeah, that's crazy to think about.
There's quite a few guys that deserve to be starting this week, especially this week, like Tim Hightower. Look what he's done in that New Orleans system when he's gotten the touches. He did it last year at the end of the year. He's been doing it this year when Ingram's been sucking, and now it looks like Ingram's going to be out. So Hightower should have a fantastic game this week.
Yeah, this would be a good week for flex plays for running backs. If you needed a flex play and you have a plethora of running backs, this is the week that you're using a running back for sure in the flex rather than a wide receiver. So just especially with nobody on bye this week, that's the time to do it. TJ Yeldon or Chris Ivory. I'm looking at Yeldon. He is banged up. If Yeldon was healthy, Chris Ivory's healthy. If you had to start one, God forbid, if you had to, who are you starting?
If they were both 100% healthy?
100% healthy.
Standard Ivory, PPR, Yeldon. But last week we saw that Ivory could catch a football as well. So if you're an Ivory owner, just pray Yeldon's out, and Ivory should get a boatload of touches because he did last week.
Two guys that are close in rankings. Mark Ingram is at 13, and Todd Gurley is at 8. Are you fine with their rankings? Would you move them closer together? Would you start Ingram over Gurley, or would you still roll with Gurley?
I really don't think Ingram's going to be playing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ingram / Hightower, so at that point in time.
I'd still start Gurley over Hightower. One of my interesting, he's not really sneaky because he's been freaking phenomenal all year. Frank Gore. He's 11. Scott Tolzien's going to be the Colts starting quarterback. And Frank Gore's been getting a lot of yards and a lot of production out of little swing passes, screens, stuff like that. I think that's going to happen a lot this week as well. And I think Gore is going to be the most prolific Colts option this week, and you should be starting him.
Couple throwback passes.
Yeah, a couple trick plays like last week.
Melvin Gordon at Houston. 15 on the rankings. I think he should be higher.
I like where he's at. I like Houston's rush defense. They held Oakland in check last week, most of the game. Vince Wilfork still getting the job done. Jadeveon Clowney looks like that first round, their first overall pick. And I think Houston could shut him down in this game.
Rest of the season ranking. Thomas Rawls or Jordan Howard?
Rawls.
Even though Howard has been on a good streak?
He's been very good. But I think teams are going to be able to key in on the rushing attack even more. That Cutler's out, and that they're going to have Matt Barkley, most likely, out there.
I like this question just because it's going to be very interesting to see what your reaction is. We all know the Melvin Gordon hype train that he's on, but LeGarrette Blount has also been having a very good year as well. LeGarrette Blount or Melvin Gordon rest of the season?
Ooh, that's tough. I'm going to go with Gordon, but I think they're both top 12 options the rest of the year.
Yeah, I could see a reason for both of them. LeGarrette Blount has been dominant pretty much all year long. He wants the touches. He looks hungry for the ball. He looks like he actually wants to be out there, where like last season it looked like he didn't even want to be out there sometimes. But now being that featured back, even though Deion Lewis is back, he looks like he's hungry, he wants the ball, he wants to run, and he wants to score touchdowns. But Melvin Gordon is looking very light on his feet with no Woodhead there. He's looking very, very good as well.
Yeah, they're both super close in my rankings. It's hard to pick them or pick one or the other. I like both of them a lot the rest of the year.
Rest of the season, LaShawn McCoy or DeMarco Murray?
DeMarco, just because LaShawn's been getting banged up all year, it seems like, and it's like every other week he's out and it's questionable for the game the next week.
Who is your Bananas play of the week?
It's going to be Le'Veon Bell.
Le'Veon Bell?
Yep. Every match, I'm using him.
What if a lot of people are using Le'Veon Bell? You're still going with him?
Still going with him. I think he's the guy to own.
Okay. I'm going to go with not Le'Veon Bell. I'm going to go with DeMarco Murray. He's facing Chicago, at Chicago. I really like the matchup. I even though Henry is there, he hasn't been getting any touches. He hasn't been getting any carries. So I like DeMarco Murray, and I like him facing a Chicago Bears defense and a Chicago Bears team that is just banged up in general.
I like it.
If I had to pick somebody else, though, if I had to pick two, even though Bananas, you don't pick two, you only pick one, I would lean towards Melvin Gordon as well.
Who has more points, David Johnson or Le'Veon Bell this week?
Le'Veon Bell does. I think it'll be close, though. If it's PPR, maybe David Johnson takes over, just because I think he might get 7 or 8 catches. Again, everybody, that is the running back forecast for week number 12. We are Pony Keg Sports. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please reach out to us on Twitter at Pony Keg Sports or email us. Do not hesitate one bit. PonyKegSports@gmail.com. For Tom and myself, thank you. Have a good night.